Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of HazChat by HazMat 101 Consultants. I'm one of your co-hosts, Bob Koshignano, aka Kosh, with my other co-host, Derek Shaman. Good morning, Derek. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing well. How are you, Bob?
Oh, Peachy, what does your shirt say? I know.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You either get it or you don't.
That a boy. Well played.
I know. I know. It's horrible. It's a horrible pun, but it's a chemistry pun, and chemistry puns are fun puns.
And it actually goes into the topic in which we were about to discuss, which is very appropriate. But first, let's do a little something from our lovely sponsors. Hey, HazChat listeners, looking to boost your skills? Check out respondertraining.com. They've got top-notch responder training and essential tools like their 1-inch propane and CNG flare-off kits, water injection tools, and much more. Train smart, stay safe, and excel in the field. That's respondertraining.com. Enhance your hazmat training with Signal, the most realistic gas detection training on the market. For under $100, you can simulate any detection combination from handheld meters to fixed location monitors, and even confined space scenarios with their universal pump attachment. Signal delivers unlimited range and detector combinations trusted by top teams around the world. Visit signalapp.com or download the app now. Signal, unlimited range, unlimited possibilities. And we're back just like that. Movie magic.
Hmm.
Um, so this is something that came up in one or two of the hazmat groups. It was a abandoned building, an old chemistry school area type facility. But what we want to talk about is that a lot of areas have colleges, high schools for that matter, and the response to that. Not so much this incident in particular, because there's a lot still going on and probably will be for a while. And we'll show you some of the pictures, but this is more of how would you respond to something like that, whether it's abandoned or not, doesn't matter, but you're going to a chemistry lab or in a high school or a college, and some of the hazards to look for, and some of those things. So we'll just kind of pop through some of these just so you get a little idea what we're talking about. So obviously, this is a place that hasn't been used in quite a while. And you first arrive on scene of a building like this, you're dispatched to just could be anything. Could be smoke from a building. Could be, I don't know, suspicious odor.
It could be that you had someone that's injured inside, especially with the trend of urban explorers going to abandoned places like this, going into areas where maybe the structure's compromised. There's holes in the floor. There's sharp edges on things. Be prepared with abandoned buildings like this, that with the rise of social media and these urban explorers that like to go check these things out, that you know that's going to be a likely call to bring you out to some of these abandoned places too.
Right. And first off, for as far as the pictures we're going to show, it's from Grim Urbrex. Just so everybody knows, I got to give credit for wherever the pictures came from, and we appreciate him giving them to us so that we can help educate responders. So this is outside of one of the buildings, and then this is what some of the things that were found inside. Now, this is not typical or atypical rather of any chemistry lab. You would find things on shelves like this. And you'll see some close up pictures here in a few minutes. So let's get back to the first arriving unit. So let's talk about that for a second, because I think what's important is that first arriving engine, truck, whatever it is, you've got to be prepared and start thinking ahead of time. First off, hopefully get a pre-plan of the area you're going to, the building. I highly recommend, if you don't get out and explore, investigate, size up, whatever you want to call it, your first new area, you are doing yourself and your team a huge disservice. I think I could speak for Derek and I both. Our department we had to do company inspections. We got 20, 30 of them a month where we were actually, acting as the inspectors, walking through, checking the form off. But what we're doing is we're sizing up the building and seeing what our hazards were and talking tactics with our crews at the same time. That's what makes us professionals. We're ready to go, and we already have a kind of game plan, because you can't always say, "Oh, we're always going to do this. I'm always going to pull 200-foot pre-connect." Obviously, that's not going to be the case in some instances, but this is something that if you have a high school, middle school, they have not so much anymore, right? I mean, when we used to call it junior high way back when, I don't really remember that. I think it was more when we hit high school, right? We had chemical stuff.
Yeah, middle schools will have some chemicals. They're more dilute, so you'll have an acetic acid that's more closely associated with the vinegar that you have at home. Just because of the fact that you can't necessarily trust middle school age students to have good
What?
lab hygiene.
What?
Um, but no, it's not uncommon. There's going to be some chemicals there. Obviously, high school you're going to get more. College you're going to get even more. So, and the big thing with this is, depending on your community, like Bob said, going out and pre-planning, some school districts and some science departments are better than others at hygiene with their lab. It's not uncommon to find a school that says, "Hey, we found this container that was sitting in the back of a closet, and we haven't ordered this in 20 years." So even if it's not an abandoned facility, you could run into chemicals that are undergoing some sort of degradation, have been forgotten about and kind of lost track of there.
Right, right. And the pictures we're showing, these chemicals have been left here for a long time. I don't know the exact period of time, but this place has not been in use for a while. But this is typically how you would see things. Hopefully, a little neater. Um,
Mhm.
Again, they've been sitting here for a while, so pictures are going to be a little different. But what's interesting to note is, like, if you look here at that on the middle shelf there, under that lid, you see crystallization. Um, Guys, gals, that's what we call a clue. Get out. Okay.
Mhm.
Don't touch. Stop. Whoa. Whoa. We actually had something similar to that. I think you did too. That was involving picture caster, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
these things get found a lot. I mean, we're getting away from it because times have changed and those things aren't used, but it seems like every couple of years, some science department somewhere or something turns up in a spot that they weren't even thinking about.
right.
So a storage closet that hasn't been opened in so many years, and like you were saying here, this facility has been closed for just over 10 years, but these chemicals were likely not brand new when it closed. So
Right.
you're looking at chemicals that are probably at least 15 years old, because 5 years is about how long you're supposed to keep chemicals in a chemistry lab before disposing of them. But the fact that they weren't concerned about taking care of this before they shut down tells me that probably their hygiene practices weren't the best in the first place. So I would say that easily everything you're looking at here is probably, I would say, 20 years old,
Yeah.
and you're going to have 20-year-old chemical problems.
And you brought up a good point about finding stuff in storage closets. I remember a story that one of our buddies from the New England area told us about an incident they ran where the chemist from the school had brought stuff back and was in his garage. He had passed away, if I remember the story correctly, and his wife found all these things in the garage, the detached garage, and then some stuff, the ground was doing weird stuff. I mean, it was just, so you never know where you're going to find this shit. I mean, somebody's house, somebody's, whatever. Which brings to a good point. If you do go to somebody's house for a suspicious odor, or a chemical odor specifically, I would ask, like, what do you do? What's your background? Because that might clue you into a few things as well.
Mhm. It might just be like they've got some sort of a hobby. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being interested in
Sure.
chemistry and wanting to do. some stuff,
right?
maybe they've got a specific thing that they're working on. Our infamous garage scientist that Bob's very familiar with.
Yes.
You know, if they can get access to it legally and they're making the right choices, but being aware, taking the time to look and go, wow, your garage looks kind of interesting. Ask them a little bit and find out what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then one last picture here because this is kind of oof, oof, oof.
That
That says
that
sodium
looks like
hydroxide on the bottom.
sodium hydroxide. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's salts, that salt crystals that are building up on there.
yeah,
I'm trying to see what the one on the far right is. It's like a
yeah. I'm not really
orangey
sure,
color.
and it may not have started off
That
orange.
one, yeah. And well, that's the thing is like I start thinking about like once nitric acid starts getting exposed to oxygen, nitric acid is going to start out clear, pure nitric acid, but it's going to start to turn orange. I don't think that that's nitric acid. I mean,
I
I'm trying to see what
I
kind of container that even is. It almost looks like it's a like some sort of a fiber container,
fiber container.
possibly.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows what's in there?
Right. And I will tell
Some
you, I had a I don't want to say the name of the place. When I describe it, you know what I'm talking about, but they're still in business, so I can't say the name. But there was a plating company in Orlando that when we got off the truck, and it was just to do a hazmat inspection, um, and you could smell, like my eyes started burning outside. You know the place I'm talking
Mhm.
about. And when they had this room that looked like a cave almost, and they had stuff not as bad as this, but like that cardboard box where obviously something's come in contact with it, it's discolored. They had pails. I mean, 10, 15, 25 gallon fiber pails with stuff leaching out through it.
Oh
It,
yeah.
that place is scary. I can't believe they're even still there.
Well, and we dinged them on separation and isolation of reactives
Right.
because there was a time we went in and they had them literally side by side. And it's like, hey, you can't do it. The thing that blew my mind about that place was you looked up at the ceiling and the steel bar joists that were probably at one point in time at least an inch and a half thick steel rod were down to about a quarter inch from all
Right.
the corrosion. And no one's wearing a respirator inside of the place. And I'm
Yeah, no.
like, gosh, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, and not to get off the topic too far, but the and I'll leave it with this one was when they have the 704 on the side of the building with the W with the slash through it, right? And they had this. Remember, they had the sprinkler systems over the vats of acid. It's like that's crazy. I love it.
Yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I wanted to just put a Maltese cross with a slash through it and say, "This isn't our problem. Whatever happens here,
bye.
I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation."
Yeah.
But
Ah,
but no, yeah, this is interesting because I'm guessing if that is fiberboard, obviously they've got a moisture issue there,
right.
which now you're introducing moisture. That product may not be a problem, but what's it impacting coming into contact with? It's coming into contact with organic materials, with the wood there, and who knows what else. And hopefully, it's not reactive to the salts from the sodium hydroxide. This is a mess. This
This
is
is
a
a
mess. I don't
mess.
want to
This
clean
is
it
a
up.
mess. Yeah, and it goes back to the point too of that first arriving units, whether you have an air monitor or not. If you're getting, again, going back to knowing your first due area, number one. Number two, if you get off the rig and we are not using our nose meter, we didn't calibrate it that morning, right, guys? We're gals, we're not doing that. But if you know the place you're going into and you suspect there's probably something in there, you better be on air. There's other pictures that I've seen that we don't have here where you see the paint has peeled off the walls and off the floors. And I don't know if that's from chemical exposure or just decay. Who knows? But don't, as I always say, air's free. I've never seen a credit card swipe machine on the side of a Cascade fill station. Wear your damn mask. Even if you
Yeah.
go in to investigate, especially if you're going in to investigate a potential odor. There are things, and Derek and I talk about this in our air monitoring class all the time, that we prove to the students a percentage or a parts per million of something that has happened that is enough to put them on the deck, and their meter hasn't even gone off yet, or whatever detection equipment they have hasn't even hit, because it hasn't reached that threshold yet. So please, gang, wear your mask. Don't go investigation mode with your mask swinging next to you, because that does you no damn good.
Yeah. If people called you because there was an odor,
Right.
then we're assuming that there's an offending chemical present in the air moving around. Start on air, do your monitoring, then come off air when you determine that the air is safe, not the other way around. Don't go and help them identify the chemical. Oh, yeah, it does smell kind of like wet hay. No, I don't need to know that. I need to go in and kind of figure out where I'm starting out.
Right.
But
And
this is definitely also want to obviously you haven't maybe at this point seen what the chemicals are. You want to kind of figure it out. At the very minimum, put your EOD team on alert that you're here because there's a good chance that you might need them to come out depending on what you find.
and that brings up a good point. We're fortunate with our department that we're one of the few fire departments in the country that EOD is part of the fire department. So Derek and I worked very closely with them as far as HazMat. We were part of the EOD response, because we gave them air monitoring. We knew how to get them in and out of their suits and what have you. But if you haven't made those relationships yet, make them now. Don't try to wait till 3 a.m. to make those relationships. There's always been this, between FD and PD, and I always joke with my family members that are on both sides. It's always fun, when we get together for different reasons. But reassure them that, hey, listen, I'm here to protect you because it may have fire involved. More importantly, your health, because if something happens, I can take care of you quickly, meaning decon, first aid, transport. So you don't need the whole dog and pony show, an engine or rescue, ambulance, whatever you call it. Just a stage. That's it. We did it for meth labs too. Just a stage. We don't want to play in your sandbox. Your sandbox is dangerous. My dad was in charge of the bomb squad for a number of years, so I know exactly what crazy stuff those guys do. Um, so that's it. Meet up with these guys is the point, and get your game plan going now.
Yeah, and definitely get out to these facilities before they close down um,
Yeah, I just want to
to
go
know
back to
what they
this one.
have there and maintain this on the radar
Yeah,
from the very beginning before they closed, uh, prior to when this place closed down. So this is definitely one that there should have been an awareness of what was there.
yeah.
It is mind blowing that all of this is just sitting there the way that we see it.
For years. Yeah, and like I said, we're not here to Monday morning quarterback why, how, whatever. We're more talking about the response of the people that may get called to this, and since it was discovered or rediscovered, however you want to look at, they were, and now the government entities involved are setting up their game plan and doing whatever if they haven't already. So I would imagine that the amount of stuff that's in there, um, they're going to be busy for a while. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because this is one that you have to also remember that yes, this is a previous college chemistry lab, so the assumption would be that things are labeled properly. However, this is one of those ones where you're going to go through and you're going to have to confirm some things that maybe aren't as clear cut.
yeah,
Um, the stuff that's in its original container that matches what you would expect it to look like, yes, but once you start looking at these things and if what's in the container doesn't resemble what it's supposed to, or you've got a flask like we saw there that has a label that's probably faded and you can't see it anymore,
true.
you're gonna have to do chemical classification, at least determine is it an acid, is it a base? Because when you're talking about chemistry labs, you've got oxidizers, water reactives, pyrophorics, flammables, combustibles. You're going to have organic and inorganic acids, organic and inorganic bases.
Yeah,
You're going to have poisons. You're going to have cyanides. You're going
cyanides.
to
Yep.
have formaldehyde. You're going to have all sorts of things. And then the other thing that you're going to have that you maybe didn't plan for was what do you have as it's degraded? What has it turned
Turned into.
into?
Yeah.
Because these things aren't the same as they were the day that they were. Some things are acetic acid. Acetic acid will always be acetic acid unless you contaminate it with something else. So if I see acetic acid, can I do a quick test on it? Yep, boom, acetic acid, we're good. You start seeing some other products that degrade into different things, ethers, stuff like that. They're going to turn into some stuff that you don't want to deal with. And, yeah, especially you start seeing any kind of like oxidizers, peroxides, things like that. That's when you really start going,
Oof.
this is a hazmat EOD scene.
Time out. Time out. We're taking a pause.
Yeah, let's burn it down.
Yeah. Give me the lefty. Bring the lefty in. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, before we get going too much, we need to mention some of our social media stuff that we do. Besides HazChat, we're also on Facebook. Check it out. And we are also now on, I think, almost every podcast platform. So you're probably watching this or maybe listening to it through YouTube. But if you're out and about and you're driving, you're working out, you're at the firehouse, whatever the case may be, check it out on your favorite podcast channel. Some other social media sites, obviously, as I mentioned, our HazMat 101 Consultants Facebook and YouTube page, the HazMat Guys Roundtable that we do with Bobby, Mike, and Jay-Z. HazMat Group 2, Facebook, HazMat Group, and Common Sense. All great places to get information, not reinvent the wheel, ask questions. HazMat Group 2, I'm one of the admin for, and I think we are like on the cusp of hitting 10,000 members. So that's pretty huge. So please request, if you are a first responder, answer the questions and we will approve you almost instantaneously. Any last?
We might even approve a second responder. Who knows?
Or a third. Any last wise words of wisdom, my friend? What's going on? Talk about we got stuff going on. Tell them what's going on.
Okay, so we've got coming up in January, we're going to have the Florida HazMat Symposium. Yep. So beautiful Daytona Beach in January. Come on down and visit us there. We'll be doing some amazing stuff there. Believe that the Florida HazMat Symposium is now right at the third largest conference by attendance. Close to. I think
so, second or third. Yeah, it's way up there. What was 700 attendees last year?
Yeah. And you know, a lot of great instructors from around the country, people there sharing knowledge. And, you know, for those of you living up in places where the white crystalline stuff falls from the sky, coming down to Florida and Daytona Beach, even in the winter, is better than shoveling your driveway. So True. Come on down, visit us for a few days and, you know, get some HazMat on, maybe join Bob and I and our buddy Mike at the bar for a little bit of libations. But after that, we will be heading to, I believe next up would be Michigan.
We've got a bunch. I've got loose confirmation on Massachusetts, Michigan,
Gillette Stadium.
Yep, Gillette Stadium. That's be a good one. So that's Massachusetts, Michigan, Oklahoma, hopefully, probably, maybe Baltimore, and then we got gigs spread out all across the country. So wave at us at the airport as we're running from plane to plane because, you know, Derek and I always have traveling issues. Or more importantly, buy us a drink at the bar. So that's all I got.
So until then,
until next time,
same HazMat time, same HazMat channel.
Have a say when you see this, it'll be January. So hopefully you have already had a happy and healthy holiday season and you didn't celebrate too much on the new year. But if you do, listen to this while you recover. Take care.